Welcome to the chat. My name is Noah. I'm a student at McGill University. And joining me on the other line, my brother from Long Island, Terence. What's going on, buddy?
What's up? Terrence Simpson, Long Island, Strong Island. Let's get it going.
And my other friend from San Antonio, Texas. That's Jeremy Heath. What's up?
What's good, y'all? Jeremy Heath. Shout out to San Antonio, Texas.
Guys, we're in the dog days of summer, man. We really are. And as a franchise trying to push content, we're having a hard time. But we love talking to each other. We love putting out content. So we're gonna do our best, and we're gonna talk about mostly the Rio Olympics, but there's some other stuff, and get into the usuals, the do we cares, and the top five, and should be a great show. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Let's recap Rio a little bit. Despite being a pretty grim location for the Olympics, it's been pretty legendary. I mean, between Usain Bolt, Michael Phelps, and the utter dominance of the U.S. gymnastics team. Do you guys agree that it's kind of been a legendary Olympics? And T, you can start first.
Yeah, I agree. So a lot of records have been broken. You get to see these great athletes put their talent that they work, dedicate their whole lives to, put on full display, and it's just awesome to see. And I don't know, it just seems like a lot of greatness has occurred between Michael Phelps, Simone Biles. Just a lot of greatness, and I really enjoy watching it. What do you think, Heath? What do you think, Heath?
I like. I think it's less of the records being broken and things like that, and just more so of how it's gone about. Just who's risen, kind of unsung heroes. I mean, Simone Biles was big time before this to the gymnastics world. She's nothing new to the gymnastics world, but Simone Manuel in swimming, what just happened, the three U.S. women taking the 100 hurdles, sweeping the 100 hurdles, it's basically U.S. versus Jamaica on the track, the U.S. basketball team showing that they're mortal a little bit. There's a lot going on. It's been probably the most entertaining Olympics I can ever remember seeing. So I've been thoroughly impressed by it. A lot of great storylines and everything. So I can't wait for it to continue. I know my man Usain's back on the track for the 200 tomorrow. So it's only going to get better.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's interesting. Everything is magnified today because of social media, and we're all more connected to everything, and stuff is happening. Even though there's all this tape delay happening on NBC and stuff like that, there's still, you can still real time figure out who's winning what, and I don't know. I definitely think there's a lot of history going on. I just think isn't it kind of amazing though that athletes like Usain Bolt and Michael Phelps have been able to have their gold medal dominance with the longevity at the same time. I believe Usain won gold. This is his third Olympics in a row, which is spanning over, what is that, 12 years? That's insane.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's there's always two sides to the fan coin as an Olympics fan. On one side, you want extreme competition because that makes the best theater and it's the most intriguing. But on the other side is we always love to cheer for greatness, and you always love to witness greatness. And I think we're getting a little bit more of the latter in this edition. But the only team that's kind of trying to put up a fight to that notion is the Team USA men's basketball team, who has had. We'll call them struggles. It's funny. Boris Diaw was interviewed about Team USA, asking them questions, and he was like, "Yeah, you guys are saying they're struggling, but they're still 5-0. They still haven't lost a game yet." And it's true, but at the same time, I think Greg Anthony had a hot take saying that he doesn't expect the USA any team to come in within 20 points of USA, which was probably a jinx in hindsight. But after losing to Australia by 10 points, losing to Serbia and France by 3 points, and giving up around an average of 93 points in 40 minutes to these teams. They just came off. The flip side of that is that they just came off a win against Argentina, which is pretty convincing. So, should we, Jeremy? Do you think we should be concerned, or is this another gold medal in the bag?
I don't think it's in the bag, but I think their greatest. I think they're going to see their greatest, toughest opponent coming up with the Spanish national team. I don't think they matched up very well with Argentina. Argentina was starting, kind of playing small ball. Their biggest guy that they started was Luis Scola, and that's nothing for DeMarcus Cousins. You saw that DeMarcus Cousins put up, 15 and whatever. look dominant and all that stuff. But I mean, against a guy like Luis Scola, who's older, slower, smaller, all that stuff, you expect that from him. I was impressed with Kevin Durant shooting. Our former boy put in work today. Hit a lot of threes. I was impressed by that. He looked like the Kevin Durant of old. And you know, if you're gonna hit shots, you can hit shots. It doesn't matter who you're playing. But I think their biggest struggle is against Spain. Nico Mirotic was a man amongst boys today. Pau Gasol was killing it on the boards. You got Fernandez, Rubio dishing out assists. Like that's a legit team that they got to play. I forget when they play them, but that I think that's our biggest struggle to get to the goal. And I think if we can beat Spain, it's all good from there.
Yeah. I just think that the USA team have too many guys that are in between. In Olympic Games, you need dedicated people to their craft. For instance, like back in the day, Kyle Korver was pretty good at it. Klay Thompson, he's a very good shooter. Kyrie's a pretty score-first pure point guard, but he's very elite. Charles Barkley alluded to it earlier. It's just that, for instance, like the DeMar DeRozans and the Kyle Lowrys, they're not great at something. Like Kyle's an above-average shooter, but he's a fat boy. He rolls off people. He like the way he's not dedicated to one specific thing, or he's not great at one specific thing. So he's a good player, and yes, I think he's really an all-star. Was it just an Eastern Conference thing or whatever? But
I think we're getting off topic.
Yeah, they just need people who can really help them in the Olympic Games, because it is a lot different in international play than just in the NBA. So we'll see how it fares out against Spain. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So I have two things to say in response to that. In terms of the roster construction, I think this is a little bit of the American overconfidence at play a little bit. They're thinking, all right, let's, you know, but I also don't blame them at the same time. So if you're like Jerry Colangelo or Coach K, you know LeBron and Steph and Harden and Blake and Kawhi, all these guys are out. And Russ, they're all out. So you're kind of scrambling to put a team together. And I think they were a little concerned about putting that team together, so they just kind of grabbed all the big names that they could. They're like, oh, DeRozan said he'll play, let's get him. Oh, Jimmy Buckets, he wants to play. But, you know, in terms of an international roster, like this roster would play well in the NBA rules, but the FIBA rules doesn't lend very well to some of these players. Like, I don't think you need to have Harrison Barnes, Jimmy Buckets,
Stop.
You know, there's so many guys that DeMar DeRozan. Like, you don't need Barnes, DeRozan, and
Butler.
What was the other one? Butler. You don't need all three of those guys. Like, they practically do the same thing, and I think Harrison Barnes is even lucky to be on the team, to be honest.
Harrison sucks, yeah.
It's crazy how much his value has decreased, and he's still getting paid like crazy. But and the other thing I was going to say is this matchup with Spain is going to be really interesting. I actually don't think it's going to be. Well, I think it's all going to come down to pick and roll defense. Like, Spain is going to have in the ball screen is going to have Rubio and Gasol, and Rubio is a pretty good defender. He's proved himself to be a pretty good defender in the NBA. But Gasol can't move laterally anymore, and even though he's like a wizard on the block, if they can expose him in the pick and roll, like the US is going to roll. Like, they're just going to, because Spain can't afford to have him not on the floor offensively. So if they can stretch him out. And make him have to guard Kyrie, that'll be a problem. But at the same time, the U.S. is going to struggle a lot to guard Spain too, because because Melo doesn't play any defense, and neither does Kyrie, especially in the pick and roll. So if they played small and had Rubio and Mirotic, that's a problem. Like, especially Mirotic is really shooting the ball well now. Like, he was a pretty average shooter in his first 2 years in the NBA, but now I think, I was watching the game today, and he was just banging threes. Like, that's going to be an issue. I do think, though, that, like, Gasol is just too slow. Like, there's, you know, having Boogie and DeAndre coming at you all the time. It's just going to be interesting. It really could go either way, I think. And although I would put money on the USA winning this game. A little more in the hot take area, I want to talk about this fun Boogie Cousins, Brittany Griner beef. So basically, you know, as professional athletes are, they're very boisterous and confident. And Brittany Griner, one of probably the most dominant big men in the women's game, basically says, like, I'd love to play DeMarcus Cousins since he's the best male basketball player at that position, because she thinks she could beat him. And Boogie's like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't actually want. And they've been kind of stringing each other out. And he's like, oh, I don't want to play her just because I don't want to affect her confidence or whatever. Is this like? is this a legit thing? Like, Jeremy, would you be interested in seeing Brittany Griner and Boogie match up, or is this just fodder to make for story?
I mean, it's a little bit reaching for a story, but I don't think Brittany Griner. I think Brittany Griner's like tough as nails, like as a human being. So like, I think if Brittany saw that, like, if I were DeMarcus Cousins, I wouldn't want to play because I would think like Brittany would like hit me with a bow or something. Like Brittany would take it real seriously. Like, I don't know. I feel like DeMarcus Cousins would win mostly because I don't believe in Brittany Griner's mid-range jumper. Like I think Brittany would have to like be able to hit some shots, and I don't necessarily see that in her game in the WNBA. Yeah. So I would worry about that. Yeah. But like as far as the physicality of it, I don't necessarily think that DeMarcus Cousins would be like throwing her to the ground or anything. I think people don't necessarily give Brittany Griner a lot of credit because they don't watch her. Right. But I think it would. I don't think it would be the romp that people think it would be. I think that DeMarcus Cousins would have to defend her seriously in post, and I think that would be that. But like, I don't think they're actually going to play. I think we're blowing smoke and all that stuff, and it's fun to talk about. But no, I mean, people need to respect Brittany Griner too.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think it's men versus women. It's a completely different game. Boogie plays against grown men, and he's gotten, 50 that night he had? 55, 58, something like that? Yeah. He popped off, and I mean, Brittany Griner, she plays in WNBA. A lot of people don't really care to know about her, but even to the blind eye, I'm taking Boogie. Just because of his size, he's way bigger than Brittany Griner. Width and height. What are they, about the same height? 6'8", 6'9"?
Yeah, they got 6'10". She's 6'8". He's like 6'10". I don't know.
But I mean, it's Brittany's just trying to sell her brand. She's just reaching, honestly, because, and then it comes down to the point again, like, who cares? Why is she wasting her breath? It's never gonna happen. Boogie has nothing to gain from the encounter. Like, why play one-on-one? If I win, I'm supposed to win. If I lose, it's why Boogie really lost. So it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. So why would he even entertain it? I just think Brittany's just blowing smoke, and it makes a good headline. And Boogie's kind of just like, ha, let her have her 5 minutes, and we'll keep it moving. So
I think it's good for Brittany though. I think it shows her confidence a little bit. I think it shows that like she's so confident about her own game that she's even willing to step into like the men's game and be like, y'all ain't crap. Like, I'm gonna come here and show you how it's done. Like, even though it's never gonna happen, it's cool that she's confident enough in herself and that women's basketball is at that point where, I mean, they think they can compete with men. If it would actually happen, I don't know. I don't really care, honestly. It is, to me, it's just reaching for a story because it's August and we don't know what to talk about anymore.
Yeah, but if you can beat Boogie, she can play in the A. Realistically, she can just swear up.
But like the list of people that can guard DeMarcus Cousins is not very long. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's necessarily a failure on her part if she can't, because I don't know many people that can. But let's keep it moving a little bit. Let's staying in Rio though. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Ryan Lochte, American swimmer, and a couple fellow swimmers were robbed at gunpoint a couple of days ago. On I think it was on Saturday. Kind of a scary story, especially if you're an Olympian, like a gold. Like, I think he was I don't know if he was a gold medalist, but he's definitely a medalist. My question to you guys, and Terence, you can take this, is: does this prove that Rio was an unfit location for the Olympics? Or is this more of like a random occurrence that could easily happen in any country, basically, because there is no country without poverty and crime. And I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it could be a wrong place, wrong time story, but I also heard a lot of it was fabricated. Different reports are coming out saying that Ryan kind of made it up or maybe dragged it a little bit. So I'm not really sure what exactly happened. But when you go to any country like that, there's going to be incidents that happen. Of course, the village is probably very secure and safe, but if you step out the village and you take a couple wrong turns, you can be in the slums, the hood, for a better word, So I just think it's just where you go. Even our big cities in the United States, yours in Canada, they have bad areas as well. So I don't really think it's a knock on the Olympic Village and the security of Brazil. I just think it's something that happens, and Ryan, he's not the biggest guy either, so it's not like anyone's really intimidated by him probably. So, I mean, it's just something that happens, and I'm glad he's okay. He can still compete later on if he chooses to, so no harm, no foul, but I don't think it's a knock at the Olympics. I just think it's just a wrong place, wrong time. Things happen.
Yeah, I co-sign that. It's definitely. I definitely think that when you're in a foreign country, you don't speak the language. It's late at night. You just got to be careful with those types of things. And I heard the reports about maybe this story being exaggerated a little bit. I heard those as well. But I definitely don't think it's a knock on a place like Brazil, even though the wealth disparity between the haves and the have-nots is really like really stark in Brazil. I definitely don't think that it means that that's the reason Brazil may be unfit. There were a lot of health concerns and water quality and all that stuff. That if you're going to bring up Rio being unfit, that's more legit to me than saying you might get robbed at the street early in the morning. But I think again it's most important that Ryan's okay. I think men's swimming. I think he's back in the USA. Actually, I think he may have left Rio, but I think as far as that story is concerned, the most important thing is just that you just got to be careful when you're in an unfamiliar place, and that's anywhere. That's not just Rio de Janeiro. So
yeah. I think if anything, I would agree with you. But if anything, it just adds to the list of problems with this location. But no Olympics is without problem stories and issues about infrastructure and poverty and bankrupting areas and stuff. So I think this comes to a larger issue about is it appropriate to keep moving the Olympics from place to place and bankrupting countries that are not necessarily fit to host it? I think the London Olympics was one that went really well, and there was not a lot of crime and there wasn't a lot of debt either. So I think the Olympic Committee moving forward should consider maybe narrowing down the locations to have it like a rotating party to countries that are well kept, basically, in terms of hosting these things, because whenever an Olympics comes through, like it did in Sochi in 2014, the Winter Olympics in Sochi in Russia. Anyway,
yeah,
but the one in Russia, I mean, they came through and it was, the conditions were terrible, and there was just story after story of anyways, you get my point. But moving forward, one thing that as soon as I heard this story, I was like, I gotta talk to Jeremy and Terence about this, because I can already tell this is gonna be a crazy argument, and we're gonna go back and forth about this a lot. But Deandre Jordan was recently asked about the value of a gold medal, what that would mean to him, and he basically said, it would mean more to him to win a gold medal than an NBA championship. Terence, I want you to take this first. Is he making a valid point, or is he coming off as kind of a loser on this one? What do you think?
No, he's chatting, honestly. The reason he thinks a gold medal is better than having a ring is because he doesn't have a ring, honestly. If he had a ring, he'd know. The same reason the superstars at home, they don't really care. Not that they don't care about the Olympics, but I mean, to be a USA basketball player, to be on the team, it's kind of like a gold is a given, to be honest. If you lose a game, it's a shock. So in my head, I think they almost hand out at least a medal, a silver, a bronze, a gold to these USA basketball players. And that's not a great spirit, especially bringing back to Los Angeles, where Chris Paul's been trying to win all his life. They haven't added anything back to their team, so they're going right back to mediocrity. I say 5th seed, 4th seed tops. First round, they might win. Second round, they'll get bounced to San Antonio, Golden State, hopefully OKC, wherever. But it just preaches mediocrity, and I can't reside with it, because DeAndre Jordan, especially after that little soft move he did with Dallas coming back and not really want to go there, he doesn't like responsibility, and he won't take it upon himself to be the best he can. So maybe to him, winning the gold is him making it or winning some hardware. I mean, that's all Melo has to lean on, honestly, but Melo's not complacent about it. He hasn't said anything crazy regarding it, so I don't know. I just think DJ's sounds like a loser to me. Maybe he has great intentions behind it, but I don't see it.
shots fired. Look, I'm not gonna devalue the dude's opinion. I think it would be awesome to play for my country, to wear the USA, everything. I think that's sick. I think that's a great opportunity. Yeah, it happens 1 every 4 years. I get that, but you don't hear anyone with a ring saying that. Not one person with the ring has said, I would rather have an Olympic medal than an NBA championship ring. And there's an obvious reason for that. The NBA, to win an NBA championship ring, you got to be playing basketball for 8 months at a high level. You got to play 82 games. at a high level, and then you got to win 16 more games. And you got to win 4 series, and each of those series could go 7 games.
Right.
That type of investment is totally different than 3 weeks in a foreign country with a bunch of your all-star friends and y'all chilling and going to the volleyball games, y'all out here playing basketball with the kids on the street, and y'all, doing what you do in the village. We know what goes down in the village. I'm just saying, that's a totally different thing. It's a totally different level of sacrifice and everything. And I get that, like, yeah, only so many people have a couple of medals, and Melo's a Hall of Famer regardless of whether he gets a ring. So I don't care about Melo's opinion on this aspect. If he thinks the medals are important, that's cool. He won in college, that's cool. He won in high school. He's not a dude that I would consider a loser. But as far as a guy like Deandre Jordan saying that, I think I kind of agree with Terence that you got to earn some stripes in the league as far as winning is concerned before you come out and say, like, oh, medals are more important than rings. It's like, well, dude, you don't have a ring. So what are you saying? Like, if LeBron James had said medals are more important than rings, then I'd be like, okay, maybe there's something to think about. Or if Kyrie had actually said it. Kyrie didn't actually say medals are more important than rings. Kyrie said that he thought the processes were similar and that the experience of winning both was something that he enjoyed and all that stuff. So I was like, that's cool, Kyrie. That's, way to give the politically correct answer. But, like, for a guy that's never made it to the has never made it to an NBA championship series to say medals are more important than rings, I guarantee you, if DeAndre Jordan gets a ring, he's going to forget all about him saying medals are more important than rings. Unless someone asks him about it. He's going to be sitting there chopping it up with the champagne like, where's my ring? Like that's going to, you know what I'm saying? Keep for 8 months into this. I mean, I just don't understand, like, why people are legitimately entertaining the notion that an Olympic medal for a USA basketball player is more important than a ring. Maybe my man Monty Ginobili's gold medal is more important, but, like,
Wait, really quick. Speaking of which, have the Clippers made a Western Conference Final? They made one, right?
They made one. They lost to Golden State, right?
No. They were the before Golden State won the championship. They were the last team to eliminate Golden State, and then they lost to San Antonio, I think.
That's right. No, you're right.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I hear what you guys are saying, and I think you're right. Like, I think it's, but, like, okay. So the reason why I think DeAndre said this, and I think he's talking about, like, he's making kind of a bigger point about the difficult. I think he's really trying to shed light on the fact that it's so difficult in the NBA to win a championship. Like, 95% of the players in the NBA are never going to win a championship. Not like you have to be so lucky and so good for such an extended period of time that, like, the odds of it actually coming to fruition are so much against you that I think this is just a way for him to hedge his bets. And while I agree with you guys, like, it's obviously more valuable. I think the two things are uncomparable. Like, I think one is a micro and the other is a macro experience. And in addition to that, like, what was I going to say? Can't remember. Damn, I just had it. All these things come in my head when you guys are talking. I'm like, I should say that. Crap. Damn. Okay, well, you know what? DeAndre, sorry about that, man. We kind of disagree. Hope you get your chip. Hope you get your gold. But I do agree with you, Jeremy. Like, Manu Ginobili or Pau Gasol is definitely going to value their gold medal more than. Oh, here it was. Okay, I got it. I think another reason why DeAndre is saying this is because the actual. I think, Terence was saying, like, oh, being selected to Team USA basically means you're going to get a gold medal. Like, it's already happened. So that's why I think the selection process is like a validating process for the players, right? Like
the hardest part is making the team.
Pardon?
The hardest part is making the team.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree. I agree with.
But you know what? It's almost like a more elite all-star team, right? Like, It's almost like DeAndre making the team is basically them saying, you and Boogie are the best 5 men in the world. Like, there are no other 5 men in the world that are comparable to you. So for him, it's more like being a part of the team, like making the team is the gold medal. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like making this exclusive all-star team. So that's why I think he said it. I think it's a good way to validate his career in the NBA and kind of how he's come to be one of the best centers in the game. But I agree with you guys. You can't compare them. They're not comparable. Anyways, that was tough. I had to fight through that one. So now we're making good time. Let's transition into the Do We Care segment for this week, where we love to go over some recent little tidbits of news and just see. I'm going to poke and prod and see if these guys actually care about these things. So I want to start with UFC 202, featuring the Irish, the notorious Conor McGregor, and Stockton's own Nate Diaz. Guys, do you care about UFC 202?
I care. I mean, if I can get in front of a TV and watch it, I'm definitely going to watch it. I'm not going to pay a hefty price to see it, which is kind of where I'm at with all pay-per-view events.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Conor McGregor is an extremely entertaining athlete and a very marketable athlete, and he's good for that sport. So I care about that. I care about, both of them kind of popping off at the press conference. I thought that was hilarious. I think they were throwing water bottles at each other and flipping each other off. I thought that was so funny.
It was
but they're like grown 12-year-olds. But I always think that portion, that's one of my favorite portions actually, is the press conference before the fight. Because some of these fights only last 2 minutes, but the press conference lead up is hilarious. But yeah, I care to the extent that like a guy like Conor McGregor is good for that sport. And he's been dominant at that sport, so let's see if he can do it again. So, yeah, I'll toss my hat in and say I care.
Sure. Okay.
My only thing is, how do they allow that in the press conference? Like, they just act like little kids, and I mean, they encourage it. It's almost like baseball when the guy in Toronto punched the other dude, whatever, I forgot their names.
No, but it's like caught the L, man. He got smashed. It wasn't it was the other way around.
But again, it's like they almost allow
the L there.
It's like kind of allowed just to help the sport. The same way no one really cares about baseball, that punch made it interesting. So Sports Center and everyone had it all over, and it's just like, "Woo, look at this punch! Baseball's cool." And people were enticed by it. And the fine was nothing. The suspension was nothing. It's almost like hit him again, so we could post you again on social media. So same thing with these press conferences. I think Dana's just doing his own propaganda. He said, "Get loose, get crazy," and who knows? It's probably somewhat genuine, but a lot of it's just again fabricated. They're trying to make UFC seem enticing, and to make you, for instance, Heath, pay that hefty pay-per-view cost and watch the fight. Well, we stream, so we're good. But
chat, I'll pay for the fight. That's my deal with him. You come watch us, we'll watch him.
I'm really into UFC 202. I'm what you would call like a fair weather UFC fan. Like I definitely like the sport. I definitely like watching it, but like I'm not as into it. Like there's some people who are real passionate about it, and I wouldn't try to cut it up with them because I can't really hold my own. But I do know this, that Conor McGregor is my favorite fighter. I think he's incredible for the sport, and I think like this is a really important fight because the path of the UFC as a franchise is kind of holding on by a thread. They recently sold for like $4 billion, which is incredibly validating. But at the same time, like it's in a really weird place right now. If you think about like the last UFC, I think it was in UFC 201, John Jones, who was like a long-time champion, he's failing drug test after drug test, and he's getting into trouble, and he can't even get back into the ring, or the octagon, I should say. And guys like Daniel Cormier, who he's like slated to go against, like he never is going to get that title fight again, and it's hurting the sport. And then you have Brock Lesnar, the WWE dude, coming in on all these drugs and beating Mark Hunt, who's like a legit fighter, and he beats him, and then he finds out weeks later that he was doping, and Mark Hunt is pissed. Like he's like, "I'm suing you." It's a mess. It was a mess. It was a really bad night for the UFC, and if Nate Diaz wins again, it's not going to be good for the UFC going forward, in my opinion. Just because, as someone who's a casual fan, like I want to see McGregor win. Like I want to see him back to being great. Like I don't want to see him lose again. And I think a lot of people share my opinion. As much as you love or hate Conor, like him back on top is just going to generate the most, press for the sport. Okay, moving forward. Recently, our favorite guy, the one and only Drizzy Drake, found a way into the headlines again because that's all he does. There was some reported, and Terence, maybe you can help me out on this because I don't really know why, but there was a reported beef between him and Eminem, and I can't. I don't even know why or how it started. But basically, because Drake, is the king of his own propaganda, has a concert in Detroit and brings out Eminem, and they rap that Forever song, which is a classic, obviously. But I mean, do we care that Drake is like back into the news about this? This seemingly important beef that just got squashed with like a week. So do we care about this?
Drake, he loves it. He loves the media. He loves the attention. The alleged thing was that Joe Budden, with that beef, Eminem was almost going to be like his spokesperson for Joe Budden and come at Drake. So the fact that Drake brought Eminem out in Detroit, which is his city, of course, and it was just interesting. And Drake just kind of like seemed like he copped the plea. Like he's a Mitch in my eyes. Like he just. There's no words for Drake. Like he was bowing to Eminem, calling him the greatest rapper alive or ever, whatever. And I'm just like, Drake, stop it, fam. Like just do one show without any noise. Just do one show. I understand he tries to bring people out to give people like the bang for their buck or whatever, because this price is way, way up. So it's just Drake's doing a lot, and I mean he can't help but get in the media because everyone records what he does. Complex gets a hold to it. It's all over the media. So I mean, but it's just Drake, and I mean I don't really care, honestly. I usually care about Drake stuff, but he's just reaching, and he needs to just lay low for at least a week. He has a project with Gucci or something coming out, and who knows what him and Future been up to. So who knows? It's just Drake at this point.
The only reason I care is because he said that Eminem was the best rapper ever.
Yeah.
I unequivocally disagree with that. I just don't. I don't even want to get into who I think. That's a top 5 for a different day. Yeah. But Eminem is not the greatest rapper ever, and so that's the only reason why I care. But I will say the beef was fabricated. I mean, I think it might have been Ebro who started the beef. I don't even think Drake started it. But, like, it got way out of hand. It was never that serious. Eminem never even talked about it. So I really don't even know how it got to be that big. But, like, look, Em had been in the dark for a while. I didn't know what had happened to him. He wasn't dropping a lot of music and all that stuff. So that was cool for him, cool for his fans. But, I mean, yeah, Drake was reaching. Drake was selling tickets. I mean, I don't know. Views probably wasn't number 1 for the first time in 20 weeks, so you probably have to go do something about it.
He's getting nervous.
Yeah, you know, Aubrey's the man. I'll always listen to his music, and I think he's a cool dude. But he's definitely reaching, and no, I don't care. So,
do you think Drake stays up late at night and is like refreshing his page on like Billboard, checking like the rankings and stuff? Like, do you think he sits up at night doing that?
I don't know. He seems like he's not pressed about it, but he probably is. Somebody in this camp definitely keeps tabs.
Yeah, someone.
That's probably better. He probably has a guy who's doing it, who's like texting him like, like this million views today. Like, and he's always checking it. You know what? Like, I already gave my opinion on Drake beefs. Like, they're not real. They're fabricated. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just he's got no new music right now, and he usually does. I mean, he always finds a way to stay current, and this is another way of him staying current. Also, I'm really happy that Eminem didn't put out any music, because I think even to respond to this like fake beef, if it was real, let's say it's real, and he was to respond to it, I think that's an immediate L, no matter what you put out, just because you're validating like this like bullshit beef. Like, it's not real. Like, you don't have to say anything, and this is a dub for Eminem, because he comes out looking like not the king, but like a king. You know what I mean? Like, he comes out looking like, oh, Drake was afraid of me, so he kissed the ring, and now we're buddies and stuff. Like, Drake just kissed the ring. Like, that's all that happened here, and he's still. You can argue like objectively how good he is as an artist in terms of his music and his lyrics and stuff, but like, there's nobody doing what Drake is doing right now in terms of just everything, marketing himself, music wise. But no, I don't care. That's the short answer. I don't care. Last thing, Gabby Douglas, this Olympic gymnast, has been catching all kinds of heat for like all kinds of different stuff, and it sounds really ridiculous, but I mean, you guys can help me. I'm not really au courant in terms of the U.S. gymnastics team as you guys are, but she caught all this heat because during her medal reception, while they were playing the Star Spangled Banner, she didn't put her hand over her heart, which apparently is something you have to do. I didn't know that was the thing. I mean, it's not like she was dancing around or on her phone or anything. But anyways, is any of this criticism value, like of any value? Do you care about the criticism?
I care about the criticism because they're trying to devalue Gabby Douglas, and there's no reason to devalue her. She's an all-time great gymnast. Her hardware speaks for herself. She's never done anything remotely questionable in the public eye. That would lend us to think that she deserves any of this criticism. So it's unwarranted. People are coming at her because it's quote unquote patriotic to not have your hand over your heart, even though she wasn't in like full military uniform or anything. So again, like I'm kind of with you. Like, what's the significance of however she chooses to, celebrate her American citizenship or whatever? That should be her thing. But maybe I guess people thought it looked weird because everyone else had their hand over their heart. I don't know what people were thinking, but they're reaching. Gabby, by all accounts, is a good person. And so I don't really necessarily understand where all this is coming from and why people decided to hate on someone who picked up a lot of hardware in 2012 and has picked up some hardware in this Olympics as well. And so I'm kind of at a loss for where it's coming from. So I'll say that I care because we should treat our Olympic athletes better than that. But the criticism has no basis. So
yeah, I agree. And before we address the gymnasts, I think we should just pay respect for them. The Final Five, they call themselves. They're the greatest team, basically, of all time. Simone's been killing it. 4 gold medals, 1 bronze. But yeah, going to Gabby, she's a little past her prime. And I mean, she was America's sweetheart 4 years ago, had that big Kellogg's deal, and she was popping, basically. But now it's like she's a step slower than what she was. She always got nitpicked about her natural hair and why she didn't do anything with it. And it's just the hand over the heart thing is so stupid. I mean, you have, as an American citizen, you have the freedom to do it or not to do it, to put your hand over your heart or to not. So it's like, let that girl live. And she's not as good as she used to. The younger girls, Lori and Allie Raisin's a little older, and Simone Biles, they're killing it. So I mean, as Gabby naturally has to take a step back and being on the sideline, of course she's not 100% happy. She wishes she was out there competing, but she's supporting. She writes letters to her teammates. She chats, like you always hear them talking, and they seem to have a really good relationship. So it's like if she's a little disappointed, let her live. That doesn't mean she's salty, or that doesn't mean she's unappreciated for being there. So I mean, you just gotta let her rock, basically. And it's just unfair that America has scrutinized the girl they loved, who could do no wrong in 4 years ago. And it kind of makes me think: in 4 years, will they hate on Simone? If Simone's not as good, if Lori's the best gymnast in the world, and everyone's like, oh wow, why is Simone doing this, Simone doing that? I mean, she fits the prototype, about the same height, African American, great gymnast, picked up a bunch of hardware. So it's like, why don't they just leave them alone and respect greatness and just let her do her?
yeah.
Yeah, I care because it represents bigger issues at play here. It's just another case of another black athlete going through the ringer of things that don't matter at the end of the day. Like, what is more patriotic than training for 4 years and winning a medal for your country? Like, I don't understand. Like, there's nothing that's more patriotic than going to war for your. I think it was Leo Routins, who was a Canadian basketball player, who said, there are only 2 ways you can truly represent your country: in war and in sports. And she's doing it, and she's doing it at the best of her abilities, and making everybody proud because she's coming home with hardware every single time. It's just insane, and when we nitpick these athletes, I agree with you. They deserve more respect, and it just seems so unnecessary. It's another case of people reaching. I feel for her. I think she's got to keep doing herself, and it's interesting. Like as an outsider looking in, like I'm Canadian, and Americans love to boast about how free they are and how don't mess with our freedom. Like we're the most free country. Like I agree with you, Terence. Like isn't she free to just stand there? Yeah. Why does she have to? Is it infringing on her freedom just to put her hand over her head? Like I don't know. Hand over her heart, I should say. I think it's ridiculous. Straight up. So I'm happy we got a chance to talk about all that stuff. And now let's have a little bit of fun. Because, well, I mean, it's always fun. But let's do our top 5 for the week. So this week we kind of went a little bit back and forth, like what we're going to do. Low-key weren't that prepared for it. But settled on top 5 favorite comedians of all time. And I'm interested to see what you guys came up with. This time, let's go 5 from 1. Last time was a little bit like kind of going back and forth. But Jeremy, start us off. Top 5 comedians.
Okay. 5, my man Eddie Murphy. I knew him. I'm kind of young, so I knew him less as a comedian and more as an actor. But just a hilarious person on screen in front of a camera. Just very naturally funny. And so I kind of had to pay homage to him and give him that 5 spot. Number 4, I guess he's a little bit lesser known because I think he died a little bit before his time. But Patrice O'Neal, kind of a heavy-set comedian, absolutely hilarious. Died in 2011. I remember watching his skit "Elephant in the Room," and it was just 50 minutes of straight laughter. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So much respect to him. Hopefully, he's resting in peace.
Yeah.
Number 3, Kevin Hart. 5-foot assassin, dude's hilarious. He's the comedian of our time. Not a day goes by that it seems that he doesn't do something funny. He's one of the hardest working men in show business. So that man, Kevin Hart, he's definitely number 3. Number 2, Chris Rock, hilarious person. I went to go see. He did top 5. It was probably the last Chris Rock piece of comedy that I saw. Unbelievably great movie. His social commentary is on point. Dude's a legend. And really embodies what comedy is, which is just, basically telling the truth. So Chris Rock's number 2. Number 1 is Dave Chappelle. Dude's, I mean, I don't even know how to describe Dave Chappelle and do him justice as a comedian. But I mean, it's just a hilarious person. The Chappelle show was hilarious. Like, he went, like, when he had that little stint where he disappeared or whatever, I mean, like, people were just looking for him everywhere. They were trying to get every little bit of Dave Chappelle comedy they could. Like, it was like that skit where they were talking about, like, when Dave Chappelle played the crackhead. People were, like, looking for more Dave Chappelle. Like, his influence on the comedy genre is just, like, can't be understated. And now that he's back and somewhat doing his thing, like, I can't be more happy that the guy has kind of returned to doing comedy and just blessing us with his skits and routines. So Dave Chappelle's number 1, and that's my top 5.
All right. Yeah, so my top 5 is a little different. I didn't grow up on Dave Chappelle's show. I have him on the honorable mention list because I expect his greatness, but I never really got into it, so I can't fully understand his legacy and greatness, but I do appreciate it. But at 5, I have Eddie Murphy. It's a little low, but I don't know. I really appreciate it as an actor more so as a comedian. So, like, funny movies like Coming to America and little other things he did were really hilarious. But as a stand-up comedian, I don't have too much remembrance of him. Straight up as stand-up. 4, Chris Tucker. He was one of the actors, too, that were very funny, but if you do some YouTube research, you can easily see he was a very funny comedian. I remember he did this Michael Jackson skit, like Michael Jackson was a pimp, and it just has me crying, like, over and over. He's hilarious. He's a funny dude. Chris Rock at 3. Chris Rock, I mean, his name and what he did speaks for itself, and he's just a funny dude. Really appreciate him as well. Number 2, I got Cat Williams. Cat Chronicles. I could watch that over and over again. Him in his loud green suit. He always seemed to perform on that purple carpet. I don't know why, but he's just hilarious. And I mean, he's still around on social media. He does so much dumbness now, though. He's always in jail or fighting. He fought somebody. I don't know what he does, but he got in a headlock. Somebody put him in a headlock. I don't know what happened, but Cat need to get his life back together.
Yeah, he was like a kid too. I think it was like a 16-year-old kid, like beat his ass. Anyways.
Yeah, Cat has no chill. Yeah, and number 1, I got K Hart. K Hart's our generation. He's always doing stuff. Even from I'm a Grown Little Man up to he's about to drop something new from his latest tour. I'm not even sure. Hardest working man in show business, Hollywood, from movies. He even got a record deal. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
Album coming out soon, dog.
Yeah, he like just chopped out for his alter ego. He got something cooking, just know. So that's my top 5. K Hart rounds it out. And yeah.
Okay. Let me round it up. I first want to say that these are not the five best, objectively five best comedians. These are my favorite comedians.
Yeah.
So don't at me. Like, people don't at me. Don't tell me I'm wrong. Like, it's just, this is what I like. So it's not gonna matter to me. It's really not. Like, anyways. So at 5, I'm with you, Terrence. I got Cat Williams at number 5. Pimp Chronicles is incredible. That's definitely one of the videos on YouTube in terms of like a long form YouTube video that I've watched from start to finish, like countless amount of times. And I mean, it's kind of sad to see his descent, and you just kind of wish he got back to making comedy and stuff and telling jokes, because that's when, you know, he was at the height of his game. It's just when he was, you know, had the perm and the lime green suits, and he was strutting around stage in Atlanta, and it was just great. I mean, it was just awesome. Number 4, okay, I feel like people are gonna not be happy about this, but I have Dave Chappelle at number 4. Not because I don't like him, not because I don't think he's hilarious. It's just because I'm not that I'm not as familiar with his comedy, but like, it's just not my favorite. Like, it's just not my favorite kind. But I know he's really funny, and I do like his stuff. That's why he's on my list. Like, I'm a consumer of the comedy genre. I enjoy stand up. That's definitely like, if I'm always on Netflix looking for new stand ups and stuff, just because they're calming to me. I just like to laugh and stuff. So his show is incredible. Like, his show is incredible, and his social commentary is always on point. He's been away of the media a little bit. Although there was that pic of him and LeBron. Did you guys see that? Like, yeah, it was pretty legendary. But it was funny. It was funny. Like, LeBron looked older than him for some reason. Like, he looked like his uncle or something. I don't know.
Sounded like he copping a plea.
Yeah.
I'm the only man I've seen look older without a beard. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Shit. It's so crazy. So yeah, so he's at number 4. Number 3 for me is Chris Rock. I think he deserves the respect, and just because of his longevity of his career, and you know, in terms of, I feel like comedians respect him a lot too. I think that's important because, you know, he is going to push the envelope no matter what, and he's going to defend his free speech right no matter what, because, I mean, that's just what he does. Like, I think the Oscars are a great example when he poked. I mean, he constantly prodded at the fact that there wasn't enough black representation at the Oscars, in terms of, not necessarily in terms of people getting Oscar nominations, but more so the whitewashing of Hollywood actors, and the fact that you know, black men and women aren't given the same amount of opportunities as white men and women, and he was merciless and hilarious about it, and it was really calculated, and I really appreciated it. So that, I mean, and it was just great to see him back in his element performing. You know, like, it just made you realize, wow, like, he's really one of the greats. Okay, number 2, you guys don't know who this is. Maybe Jeremy knows who this is, because Jeremy knows everything. But Chris D'Elia. Jeremy, do you know who Chris D'Elia is?
Say again?
Chris D'Elia.
Yes. I'm not familiar with him very much, but okay, I know who he is. So
you guys need to go. I don't know if you guys have Netflix. If you have Netflix, go check out his stand-up. It's called Incorrigible. Anyways, he's known as Justin Bieber's favorite comic. Like, he's done a whole bunch of roasts too. And I swear I don't know, maybe it's just me. Like, maybe he just speaks to me, but he's like this skinny white guy with like a beard and long black hair.
Oh, I do know.
Do you know what I'm talking about? I have him on Snapchat. He's not that funny on Snapchat, to be honest, but his stand-up is incredible. And he does, like, my favorite skit that he does is this thing about, like, how, like, Cubans are, like, the most excited people and, like, the nicest people, and how, like, Russians are just never excited, and, like, he does these impressions. Like, I might honestly just send you guys the YouTube clip after this, but just because it's like legendary. It's just so funny. It makes me pee my pants. Like, he's also really into, like, physical comedy, which is cool. Anyway, so he's number 2 for me, and he's up and coming.
Hey, yo.
He's up. Okay. He's up and coming, and hopefully I'll get to see more of him. And my number 1 is Bill Burr, man. I don't know if you guys know Bill Burr, but he's like this old Boston dude. He's living in LA now, but he's from Boston area, and he's kind of like, he's really into, like, conspiracy theories and stuff, and, like, he'll talk crazy, but then he'll be like, he'll talk about, like, men, women, and he has these, like, really, like, terrible stances, but then he'll, like, he has this self-deprecating humor about him that he'll like make fun of himself for being an idiot. He also does this podcast 2 times a week, which is like basically like free stand-up every like twice a week, and he's just amazing. He's a goat in my opinion, and listeners, check him out, man. He deserves your love. That's it for us, man. That's all we got today.
Yo, guy I forgot is Michael Blackson. He's hilarious too.
That's
Got a
true.
lot of.
There's a lot of guys that like it's top 5, man. It's tough.
It's only 5. It's
You
only
gotta
5.
be you gotta be great to make top 5,
It's true.
or subjectively great at least.
Yeah.
So guys, it's always great to talk to you guys. For our listeners, thank you for listening. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Terrence has been working hard trying to get that thing up. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on SoundCloud. And that's it for us, man.
Bless up.
That's what's up.